I don't want to talk about the Bessemer, Alabama unionization vote again, but
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. You've been heavily involved in the Amazon unionization attempt in Bessemer, Alabama, traveling there, speaking out in favor of the move. We're expecting a result from that vote, maybe as early as tomorrow. What will a yes vote mean, not just for Amazon and not just for labor unions in this country, but for American capitalism?
Well, as you know, Mehdi, Amazon is one of the largest corporations in the country. It is owned by the wealthiest individual in this nation, Jeff Bezos, worth $180 billion. And when I was down in Birmingham talking to the workers, what you heard is tales of incredibly bad working conditions, people who are disrespected, people whose concerns are not being heard, and they want a union to represent them. So obviously, if they win that union organizing drive, and I hope that they do,
keep going,
not only be important for Amazon workers in Birmingham, I think it will spread all over this country to other Amazon warehouses, and I think it will be a shot in the arm for union organizing all across this country. It is no great secret that wages for workers have been stagnant for decades now. Rich are getting richer. Many workers are working longer hours for low wages. We got to grow the union movement. And if we are successful in Birmingham, I think it will have an impact on union organizing around the country.
Yes, I think that will be the case. Let's see what happens. You and Elizabeth Warren and other progressive lawmakers were the subject of trolling by an Amazon PR Twitter account last week. Apparently, it's been reported that Jeff Bezos himself was upset that company officials weren't defending Amazon enough from your criticisms. He's also refused your invitation to testify in front of the Senate. I wonder, how much do you think representative democracy in this country is threatened by the power of a single citizen who is worth $180 billion?
I think it's a serious problem. When we talk about income and wealth inequality, it's not just that two people, Bezos being one of them, own more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. That is wrong unto itself. But I think we forget the kind of power that these individuals have. Bezos owns the Washington Post. You have large corporations who have thousands of lobbyists all over Washington, D.C., former leaders of the Democratic and Republican Party. They make incredible campaign contributions. So when we talk about the need to create a vibrant democracy, it means taking on income and wealth inequality, bringing power back to ordinary people through campaign finance reform, through ending gerrymandering, to ending the suppression of voters.
Dude, ban that fuck? Nah.
It is a big issue. It is a very big issue in terms of the power of the few.
Yes. And yet, President Joe Biden, while he's admirably proposing an increase in corporate and income tax rates, is refusing to consider a wealth tax on billionaires like Bezos. Why do you think that is? And have you spoken to him about it?
Good question, Matthew.
Well, I've spoken to the White House, and they are more than familiar with my views on the need to address income and wealth inequality. And I think one of the ways that you do that is, simply speaking, a wealth tax. When you have somebody like Bezos worth $180 billion, when you have the Walton family worth even more than that, one way you raise income for the government and you deal with this terrible inequality is through a wealth tax. Now, by the way, my Republican colleagues want to make a bad situation worse. Unbelievably, they want to repeal the estate tax.
As I've said before, the abolishing the estate tax is fucking ridiculous. It's literally insane. Okay, it already targets like such a fucking small fraction of the American population. It blows my fucking mind that like dumbasses literally advocate for it on the ground. Like, hell yeah, brother, I don't want my fucking Toyota Corolla to not go to my child when I die. It's like, bitch, you're poor as fuck. Shut the fuck up, okay? You poor bitch. You're gonna fucking die, and the only thing you're gonna leave behind for your fucking children is your goddamn loans that you took out to go to fucking college, which then you dropped out inevitably, and now you have crippling debt for the rest of your life that is literally transferring on to your fucking next of kin. So shut the fuck up. You are not going to, the government is not coming for your fucking Toyota Corolla, okay? It's motherfuckers making like $5 million or have more than $5 million to $10 million in net worth or not net worth, in wealth overall. Okay, it's a fraction of the country. Okay,
Hassle.
no one is trying to take your beat up F-150. Anyway. The exemption is now 11 million. Exactly. It's fucking ridiculous. All right. It's just another way that like wealthy people have been able to wealthy people have been able to literally fucking game the system and make it seem as though you're getting fucked over when you're certainly not. It's really annoying. The second part of the Joe Biden proposal is that in order to pay for some of these proposals over the course of 12 years, even though the proposal in his infrastructure bill is implemented through 8 years, which is already long of a fucking window of time, which means 2 administrations, potentially 3, it's going to pay for itself in 12 years, which is 3 administrations through tax hikes on corporations. Now, the issue is those tax hikes do not even go back and revert to the corporate tax rate that was there 3 fucking years ago. And I find it deeply frustrating that Republicans are like, oh no. I mean, and even Democrats are advocating, moderate Democrats are saying that the corporate tax hike is too much and it's bad for business. Motherfucker, corporations made an incredible amount of profits throughout this pandemic. You can pay for the taxes, okay? You should be able to pay for the taxes. Where is your sense of patriotism?
Entirely, yes. Which will give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 0.1%. So I think this is the moment for progressive taxations, not only a wealth tax, but an increase in corporate taxes, to say that we cannot continue to have this kind of massive income and wealth inequality.
So on that note, a lot of people think this is a pretty progressive moment in American politics. Democrats in control of the White House and Congress, Joe Biden pushing through progressive legislation like the $2 trillion American Rescue Plan. We had part 1 of the infrastructure plan laid out this week, also worth around $2 trillion. But over 8 years, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others in the climate movement think that's a good start, but it just isn't enough money to deal with the challenges we face, especially when spread out over 8 years. They're right, aren't they?
I think they are. I think one of the issues we have been focusing on is the crisis in affordable and low-income housing. And I think the Biden proposal is a serious effort to build the millions of units that we need to address that crisis. I don't think it goes far enough in terms of climate. The truth is, as everybody knows, the scientists tell us that we have a handful of years in front of us in order to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, or we're going to face awful crises in terms of irreparable damage to our planet. So I would propose more, and when we do that, we can create millions of good-paying jobs.
So let's talk a bit more about that infrastructure plan. You want part 2 of the plan to include healthcare. You're proposing lowering the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 60 or even 55. And I wonder, given your influence on the Biden administration, the LA Times recently called you a power broker, Senator. Do you think between now and 2024, you can get this president to not just support that age reduction, but also get on board with Medicare for all itself, with single payer? Is it possible for you to persuade him or pressure him into that?
Well, Mehdi, 2 things. In the immediate moment, I want to focus in the new reconciliation plan on not only physical infrastructure, roads and bridges and climate change.
Republicans are not against infrastructure, okay? They're just against anything that doesn't immediately mean infrastructure equals fossil fuel subsidies or some shit, okay? Infrastructure is bipartisan. It's popular. It is a necessity. It literally makes us more competitive in the global market. It makes it easier for trade routes to open up. You got to fix the fucking dams. We've talked about it. You got to fix public transportation. It makes everything better. It makes every single thing better in this country. Our infrastructure is the backbone of the U.S. economy. It was part of the reason why we were able to fucking own for a while, aside from imperialism and all the other stuff, obviously. Okay? The problem is Republicans want that to be divvied out to the states and have states literally cover the costs, okay, within their own budgets. That's not going to happen, brother. That's just not going to fucking happen. It is an idiotic thing to do. The federal government should be able to step in and absolutely has to step in a fuckload of these instances. It is really, it's bullshit. Like, it's completely bullshit that Republicans are taking a hardline stance against infrastructure bills, knowing full well how good it is for the actual businesses. So what are they doing? Okay, what are they doing? Well, what they're doing is saying this is the Green New Deal. Okay, this is secretly the Green New Deal, which there is some truth to. This is secretly the Green New Deal in some ways. It's like the lightest version of the Green New Deal that you could possibly put together, because there is some subsidies for renewable energy initiatives. There are some efforts to invest in R&D for renewables. There's some infrastructure that is going to be green. This is good. This is overall a good thing. It's nowhere near enough. It's nowhere near. It doesn't even meet the fucking entry point, for the record, as far as like renewable energies. There's no high-speed rail in it. You know, it's fucking personally annoying for me, but whatever. And yet they're still criticizing it, saying this is secretly the Green New Deal. And then there are other initiatives that revolve around, or at least are written specifically to target environmental justice. Okay, because to mitigate the damage that Black and brown communities have faced as a consequence of environmental racism. That is something that Republicans are going to use as a talking point to say, oh, you're just giving money to Flint, Michigan. Like, what about Pittsburgh? Like, bitch, dude, they're giving money to Pittsburgh as well. Okay, they're giving money to white neighborhoods as well that have been crippled. But it is something that they consider to be divisive and use as a talking point when the reality is they don't give a shit about Pittsburgh getting better pipes too. Motherfuckers are literally out here saying water pipes, is that infrastructure? It is so ridiculous, dude. Of course water pipes are a part of infrastructure. If water pipes are not a part of infrastructure, then nothing is infrastructure. Environmental racism is the negative consequences of climate change impacting Black and brown and poorer neighborhoods disproportionately than other neighborhoods. That's what environmental racism is. It's when Flint gets destroyed, or not Flint, sorry. It's when Puerto Rico gets destroyed, for example, right? Why is Puerto Rico destroyed? Because they have a horrific infrastructure. Why do they have a horrific infrastructure? Well, because hedge funds have literally fucking robbed Puerto Rico for decades and have placed them under tremendous debt. Their entire infrastructure is crumbling and in a state of disrepair. And then fucking Hurricane Irma hits and boom, everything is wiped out for months. That's environmental racism. The consequences of climate change are faced in way higher, in way more brutal ways in areas that have a larger population of Black and brown people. Flint is also environmental racism in the sense that if you are living in a Black neighborhood, a predominantly Black neighborhood, the local government doesn't give a shit about you. The state doesn't give a shit about you. You're not going to get you're not going to get the support that is absolutely necessary that the government should provide to you, the base level of material equality the government should provide for you. You're not going to see that. And that's why you're going to get lead poisoned. Your children are going to fucking have like serious learning disabilities as a consequence of being lead poisoned at such a fucking early age. It's really horrible shit, okay? And it happens all the time. Yeah, and then the first Black president will then come to your fucking neighborhood and drink a glass of bottled water in front of you while faking it as though it's like literally tap water. And that's what's that's environmental racism, okay? That's what that is. Do you think lack of efforts to rebuild in Houston after the hurricane is an environmental racism? I mean, Katrina, New Orleans. If you look to Black neighborhoods in New Orleans, you will see that there are still straight up buildings that have been destroyed during Katrina, motherfucker, that they never rebuilt. Katrina. Okay, Obama has been president since Katrina happened. Like, George W. Bush was president. Katrina happened. Obama became president. It's 2005. That's crazy. Because people do not give a single fuck about poor people and specifically black people that have been kept poor for a very long time as a consequence of systemic racism. Okay?
But on human infrastructure as well. And that means addressing the crisis in education. So many of our young people cannot afford to go to college.
The last thing I was going to say about environmental racism is, okay, so oil fracking, right? Oil fracking has long-lasting environmental consequences, especially when you fucking leak the fracking cum into natural water supplies. This is part of the reason why oil barons themselves in the state of Texas will do everything in their fucking power to stop oil wells from being produced in their own backyards because, hey, what the fuck are you doing? I'm from Texas, motherfucker. You don't put a fucking oil well in my backyard. I put an oil well in your backyard. So where do they put the oil wells? Where do they put the fracking towers or wells or whatever the fuck? They put it in black and brown neighborhoods. And then those kids end up getting fucking cancer, okay? That's environmental racism as well. It happens in LA. It happens all around the world. It happens all around America. But the problem is, whenever people talk about racism or race, everyone immediately turns around and starts drawing battle lines. Like, well, what about white people? It's important to address the problems of all Americans, okay? I have never, ever made an argument to say, like, fuck white people, fuck poor white people, their problems don't fucking matter. That's why I even think communicating the needs of American working class, as American working class that is diverse, black, brown, yellow, white, whatever, okay? I think that communicating it in that regard is better overall. Green. Green as well. Okay? Fuchsia, turquoise, every color of the spectrum. Okay? Communicating the orange, communicating the interests of all Americans is the best way to go about it. I think that a problem that Democrats engage in is just being like, we are only going to do this we are earmarking a specific amount of money just for black people. That shit triggers the fuck out of Republicans. It is a super easy way. It is a super duper easy way to just be like, yep, fuck them. They don't give a fuck about white people, and agitate the anxieties that working class whites feel, that instead of communicating to them that, like, no, this shit helps you too, motherfucker. Like, it literally helps you. So focusing on these issues, admitting and understanding that there is a historic reason as to why black people and brown people and their communities are going to get more money earmarked for them, while simultaneously saying, like, this is a problem that impacts poor neighborhoods all the fucking time, which is precisely why we care about all of the neighborhoods that are in a state of disrepair, not just black and brown ones. But here's why we're earmarking a certain amount specifically to hyper focus on these communities is the best way to go about it, and not just literally being like, this is how we're defeating racism by giving black neighborhoods all of the infrastructure or whatever, which is what Joe Biden communicated. Like the way he talked about it was in an effort to straight up make this a program that liberals are going to be on board with. He just kept saying, like, he just kept talking about the social justice component of this. Okay? They say they're giving black neighborhoods money and don't do it anyways, LMAO. That's the other part of it, is that, like, The best way to win back the working class is to disregard their infrastructure needs? Yes, absolutely.
College, higher education. So many of young people leaving school deeply in debt. Those are issues we've got to deal with. But in terms of the needs of seniors and older workers, what we have got to do immediately is expand Medicare to cover dental care, to cover hearing aids, to cover eyeglasses. These are healthcare issues that impact millions of older people who cannot afford these basic services. Now, to answer your question, I believe that the current healthcare system, based on private insurance and employer-based healthcare, is dysfunctional.
Yeah.
We spend twice as much per capita as any other country. 90 million are uninsured or underinsured. Do I believe we got to go to Medicare for all? Absolutely. That is not at this moment the president.
Bro, how is he so fucking vibrant? He's literally like 700,000 years old, dude. Like, how? How is he so fucking, like, youthful?
President's view. But we got a strong grassroots movement that is going to do everything that we can to make sure this president moves in the direction of understanding that healthcare is a human right, not simply an employer-based benefit.
You mentioned the grassroots movement. A lot of frustrated progressives, especially online, and you know this, often ask, why can't you, Bernie Sanders, use the leverage that Joe Manchin often uses to get his own way on issues like the $15 minimum wage or expanding healthcare? Why can't you throw your weight around, they say, threaten to vote against things like Joe Manchin?
That's a good question. Dude, Manny does really good. He does do really good fucking interviews.
Look at the results. First of all, if you look at the results of what happened, look, I'm not the president,
good shit.
But I think what most people would tell you is what we did in the rescue plan was the most significant piece of legislation for working class people in the modern history of this country. And we're moving forward in a similar direction. We can't get everything we want. That's simply the reality. Any one person can say no. But right now, I think we are moving forward. We're going to push it as hard as we possibly can, and I'm proud of the direction in which we are moving.
And just on Joe Manchin, you say you support getting rid of the filibuster, but Senator Joe Manchin has said he won't agree to that. He doesn't back a $15 minimum wage increase. He doesn't back the 28% corporate tax rate that's proposed. When you were running for president, you said you would go to West Virginia and rally working people there against Senator Manchin, pressure him to do the right thing. Hold on. Let me just ask the question. Let me just ask the question, Senator. Do you think President Biden should pressure Joe Manchin in the way you said you would, or will that just make him defect to the Republican Party, some people say?
First of all, talk to Joe Manchin.
Again, dude, what the fuck? Yo, I originally thought like Manny was being a little bit of a lib when he was, before he got the fucking MSNBC position. But goddamn, dude, he is like, he does a good fucking job. Like, what he's doing, this is a great question to ask Bernie Sanders. It is a contentious conversation. And it's actually fucking good. Like, this is a solid ass question. Respect. Straight up.
But second of all, there is a lot of work being done internally in terms of bringing the Democratic caucus together. Once again, we passed the most significant piece of emergency legislation, which, among other things, will cut childhood poverty in half. I expect that the second reconciliation bill...
Kamala went on West Virginia local TV. Yeah, she did a good job with that. And then they fucking literally, they straight up fucking dialed it back after... I mean, they had way more that they could do. They had way more that they could do with the Senate parliamentarians' decision. And instead of actually fucking going along or instead of actually following through on the promises that they had made on the campaign to the American people, recognizing how popular it is, and consistently applying pressure to all of the naysayers within their own ranks, they chose to lay the blame. They chose to lay the blame on the Senate parliamentarian, and it's not fucking good.
Will be very profound in creating millions of good-paying jobs. And by the way, I'm going to do everything that I can, along with others, in making sure that we do pass that $15 an hour minimum wage.
Understood.
As well
but
as
you support internal pressure. But But you support internal pressure on Joe Manchin, not publicly going to West Virginia and calling him out, as you said.
Well, I think there are a variety.
Campaign.
I have no problem with going to West Virginia. But I think we need a grassroots movement that makes it clear to Joe Manchin and everybody else in the United States Senate, including Republicans, that the progressive agenda is what the American people want. They want to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. They believe that health care is a human right, should be universal. They demand that the rich stop paying their...
What? You're a weirdo for real? Your actions... Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I was like, what the fuck? I thought this motherfucker was talking about politics.
Fair share of taxes. These are not my...
I was like...
my ideas. This is what the American people want right now. And our job is to rally the American people in every state in this country to make sure that the government starts working for the working class of this country, not just the 1%.
And on that passionate note, we'll have to leave it there. Senator Bernie Sanders, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
That was pretty good. Can't the White House just replace the parliamentarian? Yes, they could have fucking fired the parliamentarian and then rehired one that would cooperate. They could have fucking overruled the parliamentarian or overruled the Senate parliamentarian's decision. Kamala Harris could have literally done that. It's just, as I said, it's just ridiculous shit. Like they totally use the Senate parliamentarian to say, oh God, it's not actually just Joe Manchin's fault. It's like, we just simply can't do this. It's fucking bullshit. Republicans have in the past like fired parliamentarians. I think it was during the Iraq War for not going along with their agenda. I think Trump threatened to fire the Senate parliamentarian as well. It's so stupid. There's nothing that prevents Republicans from going along with whatever the fuck they want to do.